Welcome everybody to another Torq Moto podcast. Episode. We don't know what episode it is. We'll let the production team work out what that is, Wobbs. You and I just rolling through it.
Yeah.
Great to be back in here. As you can see, we're going to introduce a guest in a minute, and he's a very, very good one. And he's not bad at
He's a little bit nervous.
Himself.
He's a little bit nervous. Hasn't done a podcast before, so he's going to be a bit on edge. So bear with him.
Yeah. Once again, big shout out to Talon for doing what they do, getting behind it all. And as we keep saying, grow this thing. Looking forward to the season ahead. Listen, let's not wait around. If you want to get in contact with us, you can email us at info@torqmoto@gmail.com. Any questions? Of course, we're across all those social medias. Torq Moto, at Torq Moto on Instagram, Facebook, etc., etc., YouTube, all the gubbins. If you're listening to us on Apple and Spotify, that's cool. I don't know where you are. Concentrate on the road if you listen to us when you're driving. Because I've had a couple of near misses listening to podcasts where I've not really paid attention. Just keep an eye on the road.
What we do need is subscriptions, subs. We need subs.
Yeah.
We ain't going to get paid unless people sub us.
Well, but it's not all about the money all the time.
It is. It's Rob.
And they're diving in is our guest, Mr. Tommy Searle. You would have worked that out by now if you'd have obviously been following us. Tommy, welcome to just another podcast. You know, is it just another podcast? You're not. It's not yours this time.
No, well, the other one's not really mine, is it? I'm sort of the spare part in that one as well, really. I just sort of tag along. But it is a little bit different being on yours, I must admit. It seems a bit more, I don't know if I'd say professional, but I don't know, there's just a bit more going on. I quite like the room we're in. I like the setting. Nice.
Yeah. I don't think that's fair to say what you just said there, like you're just tagging on, not what we just spoke about before we came on air. You know, we're saying about Ed's made your career, really.
Well, we was saying...
Where would you be without him?
And I said, I'd be in a very similar place, probably not quite as much fun. And I don't know whether I still would be doing it without him now. I'd probably say I would have stopped. But I said, where would he be? Because he could have a vastly different lifestyle.
He'd
Mine
probably
would
be
have gone along
south
the
of
same
France,
tracks.
cruising around in some Lambo.
Yeah.
That'd be about... And my heart breaks for the poor bloke.
Yeah, he could
Must be awful.
I think I've kept him a lot more grounded. I reckon
I think you have. I think you have.
I reckon it'd be...
proper playboy, I reckon.
Yeah, different lifestyle. Maybe for the better, maybe for the worse. But I think... I've kept him on the straight and narrow, and
you've had a good time. I know that much.
We have, yeah. It's good.
Well, that's contrary to what we said before we came on air, because he said he's basically made him. But it's a similar thing. I get the gist of it. Before we go,
Elephant in the room.
The elephant in the room. Not that you're an elephant, but clearly, following Manchester Arenacross, we've got some damage here going on. Quickly explain yourself there. You've got what's gone
on? Just at my farm, and then I've had it operated on. I had appointments with the doctors last week. Went up there like 4 times. One day, Monday, I went up to see the doctor. Tuesday, then I had to give him an MRI because he couldn't do it that day. I actually spent 5 out of the last 7 days in Manchester after the Arenacross. Balls up, wasn't it?
That sounds like a Craig David song.
Well, yeah, it was. Manchester Monday.
Not very good one.
Nah, not as good as it was. It was a lot better, wasn't it? Mine was a bad week, but in the end, as I thought it was going to be all right. I really did with how I felt. And even when I went up to the doctor the first time, he said it's quite stable. Like, I'd be surprised if it needs operating on. And then we got the MRI results back. He asked me to come back up because he was still like, after examining you when I see you on the Monday and how much stability you had, I'm surprised that I've seen the X-ray and it's a complete rupture, avulsion. So it'd come away, the ligament had come away from the bone in one clean piece. So the ligament wasn't actually torn or the bone wasn't broken, but it would come straight away in a clean cut away from the bone. Avulsion, that's called, I think, if I've got that correct. But yeah, so shit, really, really not what I needed. Silly accident on my behalf. I crashed on my own. So I can't really blame anyone. One? Yeah, it wasn't the first one. I'd rather say it was the first one and blame someone else, to be honest. But it wasn't. It was me. And that's it. I broke my thumb. Well, not broke it. No. I tore the ligament off. But the doctor was quite positive. Whether he's a bit optimistic or not, but he's saying about 6 weeks should be back on the bike. So as bad as it is, no, not too bad.
No, it's still mid-January. 6 weeks off in January.
Yeah.
Puts you back on the end of February. That's not too bad.
It's just the Arenacross that I miss, which is it's probably one of my favourite parts of the year, other than your race, Wob, of course.
Of course.
I really like the Arenacross. I loved it last year, so to be missing that is shit, because I think a lot of people come to see me at that, and I will still be going to them all. But not I obviously can't race.
Yeah, you did embrace it last year. I will give you that. Known you a long time, and I honestly thought, you know, you're doing championships, you're doing what you do. But last year, genuinely, when Matt made it all, hey, up the dog's in.
All right, kid.
For those of you listening, we've just had a dog jump on set. Here we go. So Wobbs' dog
come and sit with me.
is
You can sit there, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, you seem to have so much fun last year, and the fact that he made it all British, but this year obviously didn't get off to how he wanted. I mean, it was a rock and roll Manchester weekend. A lot happened in a short period of time. Obviously, your fun, but then there was other incidents. Your teammate was causing all kinds of carnage, leaving hay bales for you to circumnavigate, which you didn't. You kind of did get over. You didn't crash, but it was an eventful Manchester, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was really eventful. I don't know why it was so eventful. I think the way the track
get rid of the dog. Ben, you're going to have to go, kid. It was funny for a second. Now you're getting on my nerves. Go on.
It was eventful. I don't know why so eventful compared to the other years. I think a few different reasons. Everyone being excited.
Was there plenty of people there?
Yeah, it was really packed.
Good.
Sold out,
Good.
which is nice to see because...
Yeah, Matt puts his nuts on the line. I'd like to see him.
He always says it's not going to be busy, but it was busy.
Good.
You've learnt that?
Yeah.
I've had 10 years of that.
Yeah. Oh, we need to push. We need to push.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to lose money and then sold out again.
Good.
Which is mega because he does put his
that must
nuts
be
on the line.
I mean, credit where credit's due to rent them. I mean, we went to Field in Swindon and I shit myself when I paid that bill, you know. And then when you see how much them stadiums must be, I dread to think how much they cost.
Big operation.
And then shifting all the dirt in. Building the track, shifting all the dirt back out again. It's a big operation, though.
Yeah, it is. I wouldn't want to do... Sometimes when I'm sort of negotiating with him, trying to get more money, and he's trying to get me to do it for less money, where I'm like, I wouldn't want to be in his position. But I also don't...
scary, Kev.
I also don't want to think... I don't think he'd want to be in my position either. So
No.
it's a bit of...
No.
It's...
Wouldn't it be great if we could air those conversations? Eh? If they could be recorded, negotiations between riders and promoters.
Yeah, no, he's all right, actually. He's quite straightforward. He's always been so good to me, so I can't fault Matt in the slightest. I'm just gutted now I can't do the rest of the series, but I think that's one series I have got a few... I've got a couple of years left in me of racing out. I really enjoy it. Obviously, it's not as physical. I mean, but a lot does go on. And last year, everything went so smoothly for me last year. I think maybe too smooth. And then this year, the complete opposite, other than qualifying where I was fastest. And then it all went... Well, even the first heat, I got a third, but I got a bad start, and it's what it is, isn't it?
You got me to blame. He's got me to blame for this because last year.
Oh, you didn't say I was going to win this time, did you?
I did, yeah.
No, for fuck's
Yeah. So
sake.
last year he kept pulling me up, you know, because I never chose him for a race win on the vlogs, and he ended up obviously having a year, and I never got credit for that because that was reverse psychology on my behalf, like to G him up. Not that he needs G him up.
You did the commentator's curse, kid.
I'll prove Parrot wrong when whatever. So this year, Ed sticks a camera in front of my face early doors and like, what do you think? I'm like, well, he's looking tidy, isn't he? I'm actually going to go for it and call it for the win. And then you went and did that.
So that is sort of your fault. Commentator's curse.
Yeah.
Commentator's curse.
Sorry.
It's a common thing. It's a well-known
read into
fact.
that what you will, but yeah, I reckon I might be partly responsible for that.
Yeah, that's
so
not
going
ideal.
back to what you just said then, Tommy, you said you got a couple more years of Arenacross in you. Where do you see yourself? I mean, you know, you're 63 years old now. You've done well to get to this.
Yeah.
No, but I don't know how old you are. I mean, but you
34.
34. So you've done well.
I have done well,
hell of a career,
But
really.
Just before he answers that, I've got to say, but this is not man envy, but you've aged well. You do. He looks good for his age, doesn't he? I think
He's always looked
because you
like
was
a
a little Herbert when I first saw you. At
Do you
Matchams.
still get ID
way
for
back.
beers and stuff?
I very rarely buy a beer to get ID'd. I
No,
don't
other
know
people
last
buy
time
them for you.
Yeah.
I fucking send that. I mean,
Yeah. I didn't spend much at your tent.
I didn't buy anything.
No,
I never went
you
to the bar
didn't need
once.
to.
I
You
was
didn't
smashed.
need any more drink.
You were blotter.
I was in a
You were
state on the
absolute
Friday
blotter.
night. Good though, I think.
Same
Yeah.
again this year. Yes.
It's going to be different.
No, I meant you getting hammered.
Oh fuck yeah, count me
Okay.
in. Yeah.
But no, what'd you say? Where do I see myself?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how many more years you got in you? What's your plan? What are you going to do?
I don't know.
think
I
he's
didn't
really
see
got it.
myself with an injury now, to be honest. I think they slow you down, the old injuries. And I had a few good years up until this. Had a good little run. Since I finished GPs, I had a good run with no injuries, and it really made me feel come back to life a little bit. But now I still love it. That's the problem. I think if I didn't, I wouldn't do it. And then the way it is now, I have such a nice group of people around me and a nice team with like the new Dirt Store team and Nick who runs that, and then the team, John Gifford now,
Yeah,
who's sort of
John
managing it, and now
John.
we've got Mel. obviously we've got Joel, but just with Ed, Billy, like the people I have around me and the lifestyle it is, I absolutely love it. Like there's never a time. I mean, today I felt real shit at the bend, about the fucking most pissed off I've been in a few years for some reason because the hand. But other than that, I've had such a good time the last few years and the people that are around me, and it makes me want to continue. But then Ed was like, I spoke to Ed this morning and I was pissed off, and then he was like, you can't fucking keep doing this. He says, you're 35 next year. Like, he says, you need to do bits, but he was saying you don't want to keep chasing championships because it is quite a lot of pressure. And even though now, like, I'm older, I'm 34, but it feels the same now that I've crashed out of this championship as it did when I was when I was 23 and I was fighting for a ride, or I'm in that position. Like, I'm as gutted now as I am then, which is weird to say because it's not life-changing in a way of that it's going to change the scope of my career. When you're 23 and you're sat injured, or you're after like a couple of years in MX1 when I was getting injured a lot, you was always worried about what ride you was going to get, and then it had a big impact on your wages, it had a big impact on being on a good team to get another ride. And now that's not the same. I've got quite a close-knit people. Things wouldn't really change. They understand the sport is what it is, but at the same time it feels the same. Like, it feels as gutting now as it does then. I feel like I'm letting people down, like I'm letting people down then. So that, even being 34, hasn't changed. Even though you could sit there and go, well, what's it matter? But to me, it still does matter because that's what I put into, that's what I trained all winter, and that's what's expected of me. So I expect that of myself. And if that was my goal and now I'm not doing that, you feel like you're gutted because you've, like anything, if you don't do as you want, you feel like you failed a little bit, and then that's disappointing. Do you know what? No matter. Well,
I think you've extended your career with the podcast stuff and your vlog stuff. It's been mega. I mean, like you've come out. I mean, you're much more of a personality now than you were when you had your head down and you were racing. Because everybody used to think you were a prick.
Yeah, they did.
And I'm like, you don't know him. He is a prick.
Yeah, you did. They fought it, and I think now they've got to know me. They know it. Do you know what I mean? That's
exactly.
Different.
Yeah. Now there's no.
But it has extended my career, the vlogs and that. There's no way I wouldn't be racing now without that.
No. Honestly, well, the thing is, you've given value for money to sponsors, and that's really important. A lot of these kids don't realise.
No, there's that side
give value
of it,
for money, you know.
But also there's the side that it gives me more than just chasing a result. Like, it's hard in motocross. You're expected a lot of you, especially at the top level, which is where I've always been as such. You're racing GPs. It's a very fine balance, I find, between having a good time, coming across as someone that's quite friendly, outgoing, and then if you're getting the results and you're doing a little bit on social media, you're a legend, like Danger Boy Deegan, you know, absolute hero. But if you're the other way and say you're Roman Febra, getting paid by Monster, getting paid by Kawasaki, if he was then doing a few videos, spending more time, and then if he was to win, people's champ, do you know, what a legend.
Yeah.
If he wasn't to win, then it all of a sudden flips. Well, then the sponsors go, well, maybe he shouldn't be messing about. So it's so hard in a position from a rider that's racing at the top level to find that balance. Like, it might be that you're not doing well, but then you can offer us something by in a way of, but he's got a good following. Do you know, it's almost
and
like
of course,
where
everybody's
Dean Wilson
an expert.
is now.
Everybody be telling you you're doing something wrong. But, you know, you're in a similar situation to Dean. You know, Dean's, 15 years in Supercross. I mean, he knows himself. He hasn't got long to go.
Fighting. He's not
going to win a championship.
Not going to win a championship. And it's always quite a tough thing to know. I always thought when you're not fighting for a winner, I mean, I've stepped back. I'm not in Dean's position where in America, where we are lucky in England is that we have championships, but we'll get onto that later. But he's still racing at the pinnacle of the sport, which is Supercross. So when he went to Australia, he found a little bit where he was like, I've won a championship. This was good. I got that fun back. But now he's back in America and it is what it is. There's a couple of difficult rounds. He got took out and in a wet race, but then he's 14th, 15th. That's not where he wants to be, but you have to manage your expectations a lot differently through that part of your career. But I think going back to the social media stuff, it's more enjoyable for me, and what it brings is more of one goal. I'm not just chasing a result every single weekend. My whole life's not just that. It's about having a bit more fun.
Yeah, do you reckon then, like now, looking back, which we can all do as we get older, if you'd have been trying to do the vlogs like in in the pinnacle of your career when you was factory KTM rider, before you went, obviously the adventure that you and Ed had went going to America. Imagine if you'd have vlogged that. Would you think that would have had the same impact? Because you was a different person back then. You were probably less reluctant to show the real you. And like you just said, other riders at that, as a factory rider, you've got to focus on the job in hand. So do you actually think, like, if you'd have done the vlogs back then, they wouldn't have been as successful?
No, I think it would have been huge if you'd done it back then.
And you've got kids now, so that's a
little
different
bit
mindset.
I think it's just when I stopped racing the GPs, I knew I sort of, to stay somewhat relevant in the eyes of sponsors and to actually go in a different direction. Like I remember having a conversation with Libby that was working for Monster. You always remember Libby. I said, oh, this is what I want to do now. Like now's the time. I have time to push this side. So everything that I sort of planned out, we done with the help of Ed. He was the driving force behind it all and like the man that was making it all happen. But going back to in America, even back then, Ed made a lot of cool videos and we was the only ones that was doing that. Whereas we should have done it more. Like we should have never stopped because there's a lot of cool videos back then and it was... People wasn't making that. Like I was very popular. Like when Instagram and stuff first come round, I was sort of one of the most followed because of the stuff Ed done, and people see a lot of me compared to other riders because I had Ed there. He was in America. He was filming little bits for KTM. It wasn't so much me, but he was there filming. He was working for Monster. He was working for Red Bull. He was working
Great
for
Outdoors,
KTM.
He did, didn't he?
Yeah, he done bits for the Great Outdoors.
Yeah, so some good films. I mean, they're not about anymore, are they?
No,
there was some.
They tried. They have the bloke is back again.
Is he?
He's making some more.
What series was it that they had that old sounding geezer, the old real?
The Great Outdoors.
Was that the Great Outdoors with a really
amazing
that commentary
film.
guy? He sounded like a right hillbilly.
I still watch them now.
They're really cool. The way that he spoke and everything. I watched a clip the other day. I'm like, we need to get that dude back.
Yeah, he does. They actually did do some of that again last year. There's a couple of series that he's trying to bring back around.
Because I think the characters have gone, but I don't think we get to see the character. There's a lot out there.
Of
but
the riders.
I think when them Great Outdoors were there, and they did a behind the scenes
a little bit,
bit more a series in the States. And what do they call it?
I do know. I can't think of it now.
No.
But you know the one I mean. But there were some really good articles. There were some really cool things.
I think it is, again, the people are always there, but it's so serious at a race and it's so intense that it's hard to show anything.
No, it is. You've got a lot on your plate and you're having a big day and people come up and try and talk to you. And if you haven't got time for them, they think you're a prick. It's just the way it is.
It's just the way it is at the races. But the people are... It's hard to show your personality in that situation on race day because all you do is sit on a... I remember my last few years at GP's awful. You sat on a fucking plastic chair in the back of an old camper van and then just waiting for your practice to come round. You're just so stressed out all day. It's not good.
Well, people have said to me, Tommy videos, he comes across really well. I'm like, that's how Tommy is. He's a lovely kid. But because I've known you since you were 7 or 8 or whatever, obviously there's no edge. So you'd always tell me the way you were feeling or the way it was going down. And I was like, well, that's the way it is. That's the thing with you. There's never bullshit. You can always know exactly. And sometimes I'll be like, fuck, you shouldn't be telling me all this stuff.
Yeah. No, it is hard for that way for people to show emotions in the sport. You're either pissed off or you're happy. It's one of those. And the majority of the time at a GP, you're normally more on the pissed off side. There's a lot more bad days than there's good days.
When everybody wants a piece of you, that's the hardest
thing. And that's what we're trying to do with this podcast. We're trying to get away from like younger riders who don't really have a lot to say because they can't. They're limited with everything's got to be great. The tyres are the best thing they've ever had. The bike's the best they've ever ridden. And when you got guys like yourself, you got nothing left to lose. Fuck it, you can say what you want.
Yeah, no, it's
not just yet. You can't be.
He's
getting close to it.
I've still got people to keep happy, but I think I understand it a little bit more. And other sports, everything's not always great, in a way. And I think in motocross, they're still stuck in that way where if someone pays you, then the bike's got to be great, even though you might not be liking it and it might not be relevant to the actual customer. I was listening to another podcast the other day with like Pulp MX and I can't remember, I think it was Pulp. And the riders' bikes are, I can't think of the word, but their factory bike that they're riding so different to
production.
The production bike, but they still can't ever say like, okay, I'm struggling with my forks. And they're like, well, the bloke down the road here, he ain't got factory forks in his bike, so you don't have to worry. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's got air forks that come standard if they still do. You've got a set of factory forks with everything done, and you're going for a set of whoops, where he's not going to go for a set of whoops, mate. It don't matter if his bike don't handle through the whoops, because he's not going to be going through any for a while.
No, exactly.
But they still can't ever say anything, where in other sports, like Formula One, for instance, they're getting paid millions, and they'll say, car's a load of shit, I can't drive this car, and then you just think he's getting paid 90 million or whatever.
Yeah, and that's like so far away from a production car.
Yeah, and then but he says it's a load of shit, and you just think, that's mad, but he's still there. They go, yeah, it is, our car's awful.
Yeah.
So it's strange. In our sport, even now, with the little money you get paid by some of the sponsors, they're still like, nah, you can't do this, you can't do that, and you're just like, that don't make sense, mate. Like, I've got a lot more going on than just that, and then you can't tell me what to do when I've got everything else going on.
Which you might end up doing. I shouldn't imagine you wouldn't, but like with the bike tests and stuff down the years.
That was hard work.
Yeah, you know,
I used to hate doing it.
Having to be honest about, a new bike, and then they're like, well, you've kind of slated it a bit. Well,
really?
It's a bike test. Like what? We can't say every bike's great.
I used to have to go with Tony Marshall and sit in what was them little chefs, and he'd tell me about the bike, and I used to have to write the bike test half from his point of view, as if it was him, then half from my point of view about the tech stuff. But as time went on, the bikes were so good. There's no bad ones anymore.
No, it's very
no. Doesn't matter what colour it is, they were all really good. And you still need to write 3,000 words about it. And it's like, well, I don't like the shape of the front fender, or the forks are a bit soft.
For the general consumer,
fucking hell, it's really hard to write those anyway.
Yeah.
And then you got the guy, you can't say nothing bad because they're advertising, and you don't want to piss off the advertisers.
So when you're doing it, and you're doing it to say Yamaha, if you say, well, I didn't quite like the front brake, they go, oh, no. You
can't say that.
Don't say that.
Well, yeah, a little bit like that. Yeah, that's exactly it.
There's only so much you can say the bike's great, because you think people are buying the bikes off the back of it.
Yeah.
And now, like Rob said, the bikes are so good for the average Joe, as you well know, like let's say a 250F, no matter what brand, that's more than enough for the average guy. Like, there's everything there. Like,
well, I don't understand. You tell me, you think 450s are too much for your average guy? It's all right for you. You can ride one, but your average dude,
yeah, for the average
English
rider.
tracks.
But some people really like them. So it's rider dependent. But even for me now, and I'm fit and I'm strong and I still train hard, but I find the 250 so much easier for me now. Yeah. So the average person, someone might be a bit bigger and they might find it that they don't have to work as hard because they can then just plod around in third gear. I think that's the only way.
But I mean, like, the idea is, and I'm not telling you how to ride a bike, but the fun part is wringing its neck and it being noisy, and that's why I think two-strokes are good, because it feels like you're going a million mile an hour even if you ain't.
Yeah, they are.
Whereas a 450, you spend more time off the gas than you do on. Where's the fun in that, man?
No, it's different. It's a different way to get the fun from it. In a 450, it's about being smoother and then getting things real precise and getting a rut nice and then getting your gear shift at the right time and then feeling like you're like floating around the track almost, where then you jump on, say, a 252 stroke, and then you're wringing its neck thinking this is so fun because I can go flat out everywhere. And then you jump on a 254 stroke, same thing, a little bit faster, and then you're trying to get everything perfect. You're trying to get the gears right. So there's riding a different bike, you have to find a different thing to almost where it's fun.
See, for me, the best racing is 125 two-strokes.
Well,
that's always been the best racing.
Awesome, yeah.
Most people, if you say, what's the best race you've ever seen, they will say a 125 two-stroke race somewhere.
But also, like last year when you did, the vets, like that brought a new lease of life.
Which race was that?
Yeah, that was Farley. I done one down at Farley.
Fuck off.
No, but it did. It brought a new lease of life to me. Yeah,
it did.
You looked different. You look back to what I remember. You looked like you had a sparkle in your eye.
The whole process.
But that was being able to race the bike again.
That's what I mean. The process through the videos that you made of getting used to how to ride the two-stroke again, and by the time the event come round, that was real. You were really
I was really nervous before that too, because I was like, we've hyped it up a lot, and I put up the videos and I've hyped it up, and I'm like, I don't even know where I'm going to be, but I just thought I'm going to go as fast as I possibly can on this bike. And you can, with it being a two-stroke and with it being rideable, you can race it. And I generally loved every minute of that race. Like, I've not had fun like that. So
I mean, when you won that race, the place erupted.
Yeah,
it erupted, and then it was mega.
But for me, that was the biggest race I've won in a long time, purely because the standpoint from the crowd, and then it just been so fun. I don't know why it was. I mean, Bobby crashed, I think, with 2 laps to go in the corner, so then I got the lead. The crowd went mad, but just racing how I could race a bike again, it felt like when I was racing a 250, I've never really raced 2-strokes, but I was just literally riding the bike of everything I possibly had, trying to get everything perfect. And I haven't had that feeling in a race in a long, long time, not on a 450.
And when I came
around
your truck after, when you were like, you won the event, there were people, they were like 10, 15 deep, all the chainsaws and air horns. And it was cool. It was a nice, it felt really like you won the real one.
Yeah, it did.
It was a big do.
It felt like it was probably the biggest win from my win at a GP.
I'm going to say that because I remember coming to interview you at Matterley, in that one where you won the GP and beat Herlings. It was a hot day, and I remember coming around.
Fucking 12 then or something.
I remember coming around to to say, can we catch up later for an interview? And you were swamped by a load of kids and stuff like that. Quite rightly so, the British GP. And yet, you're right. I think there was actually more people hanging around you post race at Foxhill for the vets than actually on that day at Matterley.
Yeah, it was. I think. Well, now because a little bit. Well, I don't know. Just because we hyped it up on social media.
You've got to follow
it
as well. You've got people who they follow you on social media and they kind of feel like they know you.
Yeah,
which is cool. I mean,
it's
great,
nice.
You know,
sometimes, well, not really odd because I do it if I watch someone. You almost some people come up to me and they're just sound people, like they're not silly or they're not like they're just normal blokes and they're like, this is a bit weird, and I'm actually not. I'm just a normal bloke. Like I'm not a fucking idiot, but I think I know you. It's like, and I'm sorry that I come across this way because I don't know you, but I watch you every week, and I think I do. Yeah, it's like, but I know you don't even know me, so don't even worry about it. But just nice to meet you, mate.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of that. It's cool,
and it is nice, and I think
does it ever get too much? Regardless of the amount of people, there must be times where you think, oh, this guy wants to talk to me, or this guy. You've got to do what you do because you're professional.
It's not like Beyonce, is it?
No, it's not.
I don't know.
It's not. But if you go to a motocross track, you expect a couple of people. It's quite nice when some people come over for a chat. It's not like you're It's not like you're
not getting recognised in Asda, right?
No, you can go down. I can still go down.
Like
to
you say,
Sainsbury's.
you've probably got a bit more.
Or Aldi. I don't shop at Sainsbury's.
You've probably got a bit more time for it now. Like I said, back in the GP time, you would have had to lock yourself away.
Yeah.
Focus on the job in hand. So
I think that's why people think you're a knob then, because you do really. You go from.
Oh, you do.
You got to do.
You go from the start line and you sort of walk past, and you're always so in the zone, and then you are younger, so you don't understand that from a different point of view. You sort of see it a little bit different now with me being a bit older, but it was really nice, that race with the crowd, and it did bring all back that memories, and going back to racing like the 2-strokes and the 4-strokes, it was much better just hanging off a 2-stroke. And then I raced the last round of the British Championship on a 250 because I'd had quite a tough year anyway. After the first round, I never really got into it last year, and I jumped back to a 250 because I was just bored of riding same thing. And I said right to the team, the last round I'll race the 250, and same thing now. I just wringed its neck all weekend, and I absolutely loved racing that weekend on the 250 4-stroke. Yeah, and I managed to win again. So it was nice end to the year, but just the racing side of it was much more fun to me on those bikes, being able to really go as fast as I possibly could without the worry of not being quite strong enough. There was moments that I made mistakes and then the bike bogged. Like I'd come out of a corner, I'd get it a little bit wrong, and then instead of it going like wanting to rip out my arms and me making a big mistake, the bike just went and I like stamped it down a gear and off I went. Whereas on a 450 that would have gone sideways, ripped me and like wanted to chuck me off the side of the bike. And on that I was just like, oh, next time you just go down a gear. And then that made it much more fun because I didn't have to worry. I just had to worry about racing, and I know how to race.
Yeah, that's cool.
Obviously a brilliant career. So let's rewind a little bit, not all the way back to the GPs. We all know what you've done there, so close, but no cigar. We're touch on that in a minute.
2 years or a second one, yeah?
Three. More than that, yeah.
3 years.
3, yeah.
You're worse than Cursed Nickel, man.
No, he was 5, wasn't he?
4,
oh, was he? Fucking bridesmaid, bless him.
I think Kurt probably got closer than me because
But your level of, obviously at any top level, your level of competition at the time was strong, like the kind of tennis era for the last 10 years. It was tough.
Yeah, it was tough.
So that's not obviously to be sniffed at. But before we go back talking GPs, let's go back. I want to know more about like America. Like, was it what you expected to be when you went there, or did it prove harder?
What I will say at this point is that people don't give you credit for how young you were.
Yeah.
And it was you on your own, kid. You went over there with no support.
Even when I look
just
back,
you and Ed. That was fucking crazy, really.
Yeah, quite glad you said that, because when I went, I didn't really get much credit for what I'd done in America. No, I think I went and I'd either just turned. I was about to turn. I think I'd just turned 19, the end of 2008 that I went, and I got second in the world. And I probably should have. It might be one of them when you said, "What do you regret?" It might go back to that at the end. But I went there on a team with Muscle Milk KTM, and what was good there is Kurt Nickel. He was a brilliant team manager. But I was 19. Just me and Ed went out there.
Yeah.
My parents obviously stayed because I've got brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
When I was 19, my little brother was only like 7 at the time. So they didn't come. I went out, bought a house.
Well, what I will say, I ain't stopping you, is what people don't realise. When a rider comes here, or England, or Europe, a team will be like, right, here's where you're staying, and here's your gym membership, and here's your car.
Yeah.
We'll pick you up from the airport, and this is your trainer. You go to America,
No, nothing.
fuck all.
Yeah, nothing.
Literally, they're like, I see you at the test track Monday. You're like, well, where am I staying? They're like, not my problem.
I got dropped off at the airport.
Yeah, you do. And you just stood at the airport with your bags thinking, where do we go now?
That's why I wish they'd done more vlogs.
Yeah, it would have been a good vlog to see that.
To
because
see
people
actually
don't.
you coping, with it all.
Well,
But
luckily,
19,
remember Jack
different
Rowe?
Yeah.
I stayed at Jack's in Riverside, didn't I,
Yeah.
for a little bit while I bought my house. Bought a house. Even that, buying a house at 19 years old out there.
And it's like, everything's different over there.
Yeah, nothing. I knew nothing. We got a water switched off. We got electric switched off because they're like, well, what are you doing in this house? Like, and I'm like, fuck knows, mate. I just bought a house. Like, I'm just out here. I bought a truck. I bought a house.
Well, even insuring a truck's not easy, is it?
No, nothing's easy.
Nothing's easy because you're not a local. You're
Nah,
just a foreigner.
no one out me. And it
weren't.
pissed me off a little bit at the time because the management company who I was for and the bloke that was managing, they was worried about, I signed a big contract and then they would happily take the money, but they didn't out me with my taxes, things like that. You don't know nothing.
Even getting a mobile phone's hard work.
Yeah. So they didn't really, they weren't worried about any of that, which later on really fucked me for taxes and things because they give me no advice from that. I was just young, earning quite good money, big tax bills that I know it's fucking irrelevant, but no one helped. Do you know what I mean? We were just kids. We didn't understand any of that then.
Yeah.
There's a steep learning curve, but the riding side of it, I done everything right. I actually employed a trainer who was Tyler Rattray's. His dad, Russell White, was Tyler's trainer the year that Tyler beat me for that world championship. So then Russell White's son, Ty, he was out there training a rider, so I got in contact with him. He then come and live with me once I got the house sorted.
So
and he kept me on the straight and narrow.
You mean physical training, not riding coaching? Yeah,
physical trainer. But he'd cook for me. He'd come to the track with me. So I paid him a full salary to live with me because he was a little bit older. He was probably 30. And he not kept me on the straight and narrow, but he would cook for me most nights. He would prepare food for me at the tracks. He would tell me what my riding was. He wasn't a riding coach, but he would give me a structure, riding program. But the team was different then. We was Muscle Milk KTM. There was no like Roger DaCosta.
But that was the factory team, wasn't it?
It was, but it wasn't, if you know what I mean. It was like factory supported. Kurt Nickel was the manager of KTM and that was the team at the time.
Yeah.
But then, I went there and I got the first race of the year, I got 2 fourths. And then the second round, the bike had a breakdown, a DNF. I had like a 6th and a DNF. The third round, I went 4-3, I think. And I had 3 podiums on the bounce straight off the bat. Fucking stacked back then as well. The class. If you look at that class,
that's what I asked.
That was probably the hardest year to look back. Even just like the top 4 was, round 1 was like, I think Porcel, Dungey, Rattray. The list was massive.
Yeah.
Like if you look back at those results,
15
some
names.
good, big names like Barsha, Canard, Dungey, even like Tickle. The big names.
And the thing is, in America, you lose a little bit of concentration, or you make one small mistake, like 3 of them got by you.
Yeah,
you're like,
it was packed.
I remember everybody telling me that.
But I did actually do really good because then if you compared that to like when Musquin went, and even when Roxon went, and they went out there with a little bit later. Musquin 2 times world champ when he went. Their first year comparable to my first year outdoors was no better, and they had DaCosta and that team got a lot better then. Yeah. Maybe I went a little bit too early, just being that young, but the life experience we had and just general us living in America, me, Ed, like as young as we was, we might have been a bit naive to it all, but
it's fun
the experience we had was mega. I mean, it probably could have been more fun if we went later because we was that naive. We were kids living in a house in America. It wasn't like we were young adults as such. We were literally just fucking kids, like riding BMXs around the neighborhood, things like that. It wasn't like we was up to
nice
no
house
good.
Though in that gated community. That was lovely.
Amazing house. Yeah, we had a good setup. Like, did do well.
Was it on the radar? You know how obviously the opportunity came along, but was that something that was on your mind from an earlier age? Like, how early was that on you?
I mean, I followed motocross. I followed the Supercross and that, but when I grew up, I didn't really have idols in the sport as such. Like, I wasn't an avid, like, I followed this for ages, now we're racing. Like, I didn't look up to the sport as in, like, that's where I want to be. My family was nothing to do with the sport, my mum and dad. My mum was up there yesterday. My mum come to visit there yesterday with mum and dad, and we was talking about how we even got started, and they're like, don't know really what happened. Like, they just said we just got to cut the bikes. Yeah, Dad, he's so relaxed, but we just got randomly got a bike. Yeah, like.
But what?
I don't know.
If your dad had no interest.
No interest in motocross.
Why was you?
I said yesterday.
Was you a nightmare then? Was you? What I meant was, as a kid, you had to give them.
Not at all. No, just.
So he just randomly. He didn't follow the sport up to that point.
I said that yesterday. I couldn't even get an answer out of him then. I said to Mum, like, why did you buy me a bike? Because we was talking about local little tracks. She said, I don't know why. And then they seemed to think they took me to a race that was there for a weekend to watch. And then we bought bikes. And then, like, the following weekend, we just went to race. Like, we just turned up. We had 2 Malagutis. My brother had, like, a Malaguti. But we both had Malaguti 50s. And he was, like, 10. No, he was 9. And I would have been 5. So he was on the same bike as me. That's how much clueless we was. Wow. And we both went and raced. And once we raced, we just never stopped racing.
So that's probably what happened then. So they went. They probably liked what they saw more than you, and just thought, get a bike, get a bike. Kids doing that.
That's all right.
Keep them occupied.
Mum loves it now. Like, yesterday, she was building Alf jumps in the garden, and she's fearless. Like, I'm like, oh, don't build it that steep, and she's like, no, it's all right, go on, Alf. And then,
well, she's probably done it with you.
Yeah, she's done it with me. She don't think of. I'm more nervous watching Alf ride a bike, and she's like, I'll be racing soon, won't he? And I'm like, well, I don't know about that.
That's all coming back to get you. See, that's what happens when you have kids, isn't it?
Yeah, Mum and Dad would happily go to the races and watch Alf now. But
I've had some good times with your dad at the races.
Yeah, I know. You've been out with
Dad.
I think
everybody has, hasn't he?
There's always a Quentin story. Somebody's got a Quentin story somewhere.
I was just going to say, there's always a Quentin story somewhere, yeah.
But he's so laid back, isn't he, my dad?
A proper good night out.
He's never, ever raised his voice at me about a result that I've ever done. No. Never once.
I remember when I came to Donington after Steve Guttridge asked me to come look after you, and I walked up, and your dad was steam cleaning the inside of the truck out. The water coming down the steps.
Jet wash the inside of an RS.
Ain't that where the battery is? Under the steps. And
it's a waterfall down the steps.
Yeah, absolutely. He seems the most laid back guy. I've seen him at some big events, Motocross of Nations, when you've ridden in them or whatever, and he just seems so lackadaisical. Like, all hype. I've seen him just sat down having a coffee or a beer.
Yeah,
and sometimes I've seen him. I don't think he's even watching you.
No, he's not. I've done a race before, and I've walked back, and he said, like, no, I'm walking to the race, and he was like, oh, I don't know, it was good, wasn't it? And I'm like, I'm just going to race. It's like, oh, no, I've just been watching. And it's like, oh, there was a number 100 out there in a green bike in that race. He said, I thought that was you. And I'm like, nah, I'm just about to go out. Oh, right, I'll go back and watch then. He don't even know, he didn't know the two. And in another race, he fell asleep. Czech Republic, there was always one when I was Lisa Church from Molson. She had the picture and she always thought it was funny. Put it on the wall at like the end of the year in the Molson truck because Dad, middle of my race, and I think I even won that weekend and he's asleep on the infield. He'd obviously had a big night before in Czech. I think he did because he didn't come back to he slept in the hallway at the hotel because he didn't. We used to share a room because I couldn't get a hire car then.
Yeah, because he got locked out a couple of times.
How many years did I rent you a hire car for?
Yeah.
I used to go to the races and rent a car for Tommy because he was too young to drive a car and his dad didn't have a credit card.
Yeah, that was always the reason.
I used to go up and they'd give me the cash and I put it on my card, and then the next thing I see Tommy driving out of the car park in the hotel, too young to drive, no insurance, the old man asleep in the back, and I'm thinking, fuck, one day this is going to come on top.
Yeah, Dad always used to say, I've worked all week, this is I'm coming here for a bit of fun now.
In his work clothes.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
I don't know what he got changed into. He was like dusty and
sometimes we'd just have to buy him a t-shirt at the race. Like he'd just have like the Czech Republic Lockett GP t-shirt on because Mum would have packed the bag, and he was like, "Fucking hell, she's packed me. Fucking must not my t-shirt." And he'd have like Troy's t-shirt, is my little brother.
Oh, okay.
And he'd have like a 9-year-old's t-shirt in his bag, and he'd just be like, "For fuck's sake, why she packed me this?" And then we'd have to go buy him a t-shirt.
Are you going to be a bit more organised? You know, if the kids ride.
Well, I know too much about it not to be more organised.
Yeah, you got no excuses.
But are you going to do that? Or
whether that'll be a better thing, I think for me, Dad couldn't have done anything better through my career, because Mum said yesterday I was always, if I had a bad race, then I'd be in tears on my own without.
You didn't need to. You knew you had a
thinking about your career then, and how your parents got you into it. Obviously, you're getting to an age where we said you're going to inevitably have to wrap it up. Then you've got a couple of boys now, so we're not at that stage yet. But if and when that time comes, how are you gonna? Have you thought about that already? Are you going to try and stop them racing too early? What have you got a game plan yet, or is that not even on the?
Are we going to go full Callum Swan? Full factory
I'm not
racing
Callum Swan.
From the
he's on his way to Spain, I think, to do a boot camp down there. He's in
Kid's like 3 years old, and he's into Red Sound, screaming at him from the side of the track.
He's in deep. I don't think there's any way out. Is there?
No, he's too far gone already. That's
Poor
it.
Cooper. He's on the
schoolboy
program. Yeah. But. I don't know. It's difficult. I've actually just got a text saying Alf's new bike's arrived, so I'm in there. He's got a little E2 KTM.
Nice. Them things look cool.
Yeah, I think it's one of the first ones in the country. I've put in a bit of a favour, and
there you go.
I've called in. I've got a bit of discount, but I've got him one of those. So I'll see if he likes it. He likes it, but I don't really.
But you've got so much, obviously,
too much
to
going
give,
on.
haven't you? Yeah. What I mean by that is, if you've reached a high level, then you've experienced it firsthand. So, we've seen so many riders that Liam Everts being one of them. Stefan didn't start him too early. Obviously, Joel Smet before him ended up becoming a world champion. Didn't even start riding or racing until like 15 or 16. For me, the modern pressures or whatever, it's learning the basics, but not to start them too early.
Yeah, I mean, you've been doing it flat out, top level for a lot of years.
I think you don't need to start really young, and I also think you don't need to push them as such. Yeah, nothing really matters until you turn pro, does it? Like it's irrelevant whether you win a kids.
You said that.
It's irrelevant whether you win a kids 65
championship.
You're
supposed to be enjoying yourself, and that's the thing as a kid.
85.
A lot of these kids, they have an upbringing, and they're not being kids.
No,
they're being just trained to be. Basically, the old man's pushing them so hard. They're not even having a childhood.
Some's a bit too much, but then at the same time, I think the childhood you get from being at the tracks with your mates is amazing.
It's a different story. Yeah.
So as much as it is the adults pushing the kids, and it can be that way, they have such a nice time away from the races. And I think even when I say to Soph, I think the childhood I had being at the races, you can't beat that.
It's not a problem.
And it's a sport that motocross is so good because you do have that. Like any other sport you say it's football. The kids, they go there on a Saturday morning, they get booted out the car, dad's side at a stand or mum's side at a stand of the football pitch. The bloke goes to whistle, they all get fucking a little clap or a bollocking. They get back in their car, they go home.
Yeah.
Whereas motocross, you're there for the whole day, and the kids race 3 10-minute motos, but they're there playing with their mates all day long, and they run back and they.
It's a big family. At the
end
of the day.
It is a big family. So sometimes, even if the parents, some are, but not all of them. Do you know? A lot of people just want their kids to do well, and they want the best for the kids, don't they? All of them. It might be a bit too serious, but everyone's a little bit different.
That's
but the family, what it brings at the races, and you see it every week. Do you know?
So there's a nice transgression. That's the wrong word. What about the youth of today? You see the kids coming through. I mean, you spend a lot of time with young Billy Askew, and then there's a Bobby Bruce. There's a few good names coming through, but do you think? I mean, when were you doing Grand Prix? 15, 16?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also hard to compare two different people. Do you know? Say like, you could say Jeffrey Herlings was winning at 15, or I was podium at 16. There's not that many people that do that. It takes generations. Even like,
no, Billy seems to be doing it the right way.
Yeah, I think he's good. Like I've tried to take him under my wing a little bit like Jamie Dobb done with me. A very similar thing. I feel like one of the best trainers in the world with Kirk Gibbons.
Kurt, what a legend.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You've spent a lot of time with Kirk over the years, even with Jamie and with me. So he just putting Billy into that atmosphere with them and training with people and treating him like an adult, because I think he's always been so used to the youth academies, which are very good for the youth, but it's a very different world when you go to adult motocross, and it needs to be a switch, and he's needs to learn that it's different. Do you know, there's the time to be a kid, but now you're racing in an adult's world. All right, you've got kids that are putting in the effort 10 times more than what you're putting in. So if you are putting in that effort, you then can't go out and piss about all night long on fucking micro scooters and riding your BMX. There has to be, you have to rest, you have to eat, you have to... and it's getting him to understand that you want to be, and he thinks he wants to be at that level, but there needs to be a sacrifice to be at that level.
I mean, when we came down testing that bike down at Mel's, I mean, the kid would get off his bike after doing his sessions and he's straight on like a XR75. The kid just wants to ride dirt bikes.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
He ain't happy unless he's ripping a berm, doing something.
Yeah, and
I'm just like, sit down, man. Chill out.
Yeah, that's good. But I think a lot of what the kids don't understand to go to that professional stage, and I was lucky that Jamie did what he did for me, because he'd done a lot for me then, but he taught me, and I just listened to whatever he said. Like if he said jump, I'd jump. If he said you wake up at 5, I'd wake up at 5. He said you go back to sleep at 8 in the morning, I'd go back to sleep at 8 in the morning. And all I'd done was wake up, go to Kurt, go home, have breakfast, go to sleep, wake up, after lunch, eat again, train again, sleep again, train again in the evening. We'd train 3 times a day, every single day. And that was normal, but all I would be doing in between that was resting. Do you know what I mean? And the world was a bit of a different place then. You didn't really have social media. You didn't have what you had now.
A lot more distractions now.
Yeah, a lot more distractions.
That's true.
But I used to just eat, sleep, train, and do whatever he told me to do, and that was it. And I made so much progress when I got onto that, because I was always good. I was a good schoolboy rider, one of the best all the way through. But then the jump I made from being put into that program, because my dad was brilliant. You can't rely on your talent,
can you? Your talent gets you so far, and you can't rely on it.
The problem is they all work to that level abroad. Do you know, that's a little bit different.
Which brings me on to the structure in the UK over the last 10, 15 years. Do you think, because it is slightly different, you know, the grading system used to get onto GPs and all that kind of stuff. Do you think like British motocross is in a place where we're doing enough to get the most out of our kids, or do they need to start maybe looking, just stepping over the water a bit more and racing more European races to gain that experience to reach a GP level or an EMX level even?
I think they just need to, I think with the academies and with the coaches, they're all great. They're all getting taught how to ride a bike well. And I think I think all the kids are pretty good. I think
we have got some good kids, right?
I think
you
like
see it, I
the
see
way
it.
Like you've got a lot of coaches out there and they all know how to teach how to ride a bike. I didn't really have that as such when I was growing up, and I probably wasn't as technically good as a lot of the kids are now. Do you know, I think if you look at like Billy Askew, for instance, his technique now was better than my was, but what I would do is I would race. Do you know what I mean? And my mentality, by doing what I'd done with Kirk, with Jamie, I was ready. By the time the gate dropped, I had no doubt in my mind, and all I had to do was go race a bike. And I think they don't believe when they get to that big race, at that situation, that they're as good, because they know and they see what the other riders are doing, and deep down they know they're not doing that.
No. But I will say in our defence, as in English people's defence, I think it's the same problem in France, Italy, Germany.
Yeah.
That's what they only got 20 on the line. I mean, everybody's struggling.
Yeah,
it seems to be. It's not like the line's full of French kids.
No.
And we're struggling. It seems like every country is struggling to get their kids to be the next. I don't know.
But that's what I mean. Like, do we need to get more Brits like just jumping into EMX earlier? Because you did your first GP at what, 15?
Yeah, 15.
But there was no EMX then, was there?
No,
it was
either
EMX, British Championships or Grand Prix. There's no stepping stone.
One EMX come. They did have an EMX Championship, but it wasn't run alongside. But I didn't. One come to England in 2005, and I'd done it and won both motors, and then I never done another round.
No.
Come to Pontrilis, I think.
Yeah.
But I think it comes from the rider himself. Like, there's only so much that people can do for someone. Like, what do you want to do? What did anyone do for me? Nothing. Do you know, what did the ACU do for me? Nothing.
What I was going to say, though,
So I think
you seem to embrace, like, you really jumped at that chance to get into the big leagues. That you didn't seem to be like, or wait, or, you know, it's like, I'm going in straight away as early as you could and have it. And I think that it seems like a lot of people are sort of like waiting a bit too long to make that leap into the.
I think sometimes they're not ready. Do you know what I mean? Like you say,
yeah, but how do you know you were ready until you do it?
Because I don't know. I think I must have had a different mentality. Like I just wanted to.
Well, you've always had the mentality of stepping up with the big events. That's why the Nations or, you know, the British Grand Prix. Pressure's never been a problem for you.
No, it hasn't.
It always seems to have fired you up.
But everyone is different too. Do you know what I mean? Some riders are ready at 15. Some riders, Liam Everts was racing British Championship 2 years ago, getting back in 15th place. Yeah. And then people are like, fucking hell, he's not like Stefan. And potentially he'll win the World Championship 3 years later. So people develop, and not everyone has to get, has to do the same thing to get the same result. Some people are ready at different, and you have to see the rider. And I think a lot of people don't, even the coaches, they don't understand what it actually takes to be at that level. No. So there's some commitment. There's what they do for the kids is great, but then there needs to be a change when they get to adult. And if you want to be successful at that stage, you need to prepare properly. Do you know what I mean? You can't ride with kids every day, riding around a track on 65s, and then you expect to go to a Europeans and win at the weekend. Like there's a difference of what a kid on a 65 needs to do by riding around having fun with his mates, and a kid on a 125 that then wants to go to EMX in Italy at the weekend. Two different things, because those kids are a bit more, they want it a little bit more than the British kids, and not because they're better on a motorbike. Just I think their mentality's maybe slightly different. How they're getting brought up in different countries.
Talking of foreigners, we got some questions. We got one from.
Well, we get some questions. Yeah, we'll do that. You know what? Let's do one now.
We got one from. We've got like 5 minutes left,
we
man.
Can
goes quick,
go
doesn't it?
more than an hour if we have to.
Yeah, I'm not worried.
Thomas on the books, man. We got to be careful.
Is he?
No, I'm not.
I'm not
invoicing
was it double
for this.
time past an hour?
No, it's just the same.
Time and a half after an hour.
Christ, if you'd have told me that, we'd have rushed it through. From Jordan Best has contacted us. He said, if you could ride any factory bike of any...
George's kid.
I don't know. Oh, sorry. Missed that one, Wob, so I was too busy reading the question. If you could ride any factory bike on any track, what would you choose and why? So basically, there you go. Which track's your favourite and which factory bike?
DocWob KX 250, Foxhill.
Yeah, I like that one. That was a good bike. But if I was to say the bike that I rode, which is the best bike I've ever rode, would have been the bike I rode, one of the last GPs I've done, the factory Cairoli. That was just a good bike. Good team, good bike.
450.
Yeah. 250.
What year was that?
That was the last year I raced GPs, 2019. That was, honestly, the bike was unbelievable. And that's almost what made me think, I don't want to race GPs if I'm on the bike that I was on, like a standard base bike, just because of the difference that was.
Yeah.
And it almost made me think, if I'm not where I am in my career now, if I'm not on that bike,
but I think he's asking what in a fantasy world.
In a fantasy world,
what's your best? What bike you wish you'd have ever raced?
I generally couldn't tell you that, because I wasn't like a super fan back in the 80s or whatever when I was born. Like I was never like had heroes in the sport, so it wouldn't be like I'd love to race Ricky Carmichael's fucking CR5 250. It wasn't like that, but no, it would be maybe a different question, but the best one I've ever had a chance to race was that, because I raced a KTM, factory KTMs and stuff, but that factory Cairoli was quite special.
Yeah, good bike. Monty Burns, number one, has asked, are there any of your races that you watch that gets you fired up or motivated more for anything? In other words,
do you even watch yourself back, or
no, rarely. I need fucking perking up a bit, so I might watch one. I might watch some good ones back. But probably one of the best races that everyone always talks about is 2009 Thunder Valley, that night race that they had. I didn't win the race, but I got third. It was my first podium. Second podium in America. And it was just a good race. So that one's quite good to watch, because quite a lot of battles.
Track's gnarly though, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. Especially in the dark.
We stayed there, I imagine, because the lights weren't brilliant.
No, it was bad.
We stayed there 1 year after, and they said, you can ride the track the next day. So I got my bike out, 3 corners. Fuck that.
What, you put it back?
The ruts, I ain't doing that. No, my knees were hurting just looking at it.
I seem to remember you doing that at another track as well one time where you got the bike out.
Southwick.
And you...
I did 2 laps of Southwick before I decided to fucking turn it in.
Yeah, and then you rolled back in.
I'm like, I ain't doing that. Fuck that. That's no fun at all.
No, it wouldn't be fun after a
was
race.
Fucked. There was like just like Scalextric track.
Yeah.
I'm like, nah.
Yeah, it was. They used to get rutty.
Hold on. Criticising.
No.
Washougal. He said I wasn't sick of my helmet, kid.
Why did you
I was
race paralytic?
paralytic. Well, I didn't race it. I rode it. There's a difference between riding
inside
and
his
racing.
helmet on the whoops.
What? This is back in your heyday?
No.
Not really. I was towards the end of it. It was an industry race at Washougal at the National, and we'd had a heavy one the night before.
Oh, fuck, it was a big one. Denny.
And
That's one word for you, Denny.
Well, to be fair, I wasn't even like I say, I was hungover. I was actually still drunk,
pissed,
which is not
not the best.
Not one of my greatest moments. I blame him for still sticking me out there because I was trying to. I
wasn't riding, kid. You didn't have to drink it. I wasn't holding your nose.
Not the drinking bit. I was on about. I was trying to cop out of it, but you know, like you and Denny's like, come on, give it a go.
We had
give it a
photographers
go.
there. We had to do a magazine story.
Yeah.
What year was that?
I can't remember. 05, something like that.
5 or 4 or something.
It wasn't good. And anyway, I went out and I kind of because I didn't get a chance to walk the track or anything. So
what was that? Washougal?
Yeah.
Not a track to go
no,
around.
But
you don't know
also
which way it
tricky
goes after the first
tricky
turn.
track. So I kind of learnt my way.
Looks a lot better than it is to ride,
doesn't it? Yeah, it looks beautiful, but it's like 10 foot below the dirt, isn't it? It's just rock.
Just slippy, shadows everywhere. Like
I remember because I was a goggle guy
I'm
there.
glad you said that.
And they'd always moan coming out of the woods.
Well, yeah, I wasn't pissed when I rode it.
No, see, I was really struggling to focus anyway with a normal light. So with all the shadows and everything. So I rolled around the first lap while everybody was racing, got to that. And then I thought I'd get up to speed. So I attacked the whoop second lap around and it just went it went bad. I got halfway through and I thought, I'm not holding that in. And it was all, it
all went up as well because it was all on your goggles.
Yeah,
it must have hit the mouthpiece and gone both directions.
That was you should have put his goggles. So
I was hoping at that point.
I don't prepare for that.
Oh.
No. At that point, I was...
Stomach acid wasn't something I was trying to defend against.
Sweat, but not stomach acid.
Yeah. I was really hoping at that point that they'd got the shot and the pictures which they had. So
they got good
I finished third, I think, something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember that bit.
Made a bit of a comeback.
Anyway, carry on.
Yeah.
Next question.
I don't think we've got any too many more.
DeReuver
There's a DeReuver one, isn't there?
I got Lenny Woodcock calling me right now.
Who's Lenny
He's got
Woodcock?
no consideration. Who's Lenny?
Dylan.
Dylan's dad.
Oh, Dylan's dad.
There you go.
Well,
what I was going to
he
say, no, I better not. AMA Supercross is underway. I'm going to put you on the spot. You're not going to go all Carmichael on me and sit on the fence and don't do predictions. What do you reckon? By the end of it,
Fucking Jet's going to clean up.
do you reckon he is though?
No, I reckon.
Cooper
I don't know.
Web's
I wouldn't want to go. I would say
Too early to call
between
it?
Sexton, Jet, and Cooper Webb. Personally, it is too early. You've had 2 rounds, isn't it? Jet was good first round, but then Sexton's been quite good too, and I think
Jet's got a lovely style, though, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's the best. He is the best on a bike. He can ride a bike better than anyone else.
Do you
He
think,
looks more comfortable on that Honda than I've seen for years.
Yeah, he does.
He looks really good on it.
with that in mind, do you think that Jet could potentially kind of take it up another notch like Carmichael did with all the fitness and training? Because when Ricky came along, it did move everything up.
Fucked
Do you
it
reckon
up.
we might be seeing that again with Jet?
Fucked it up.
Fucked it up. We used to have a lot of fun before that.
Yeah, you're
And he came
probably
along
right.
and stepped it up, and then nobody was having any fun anymore.
No,
Well, he was.
He was, but
yeah,
nobody else. had. We
winning
used to
is
have
fun, but he was the only one winning.
Yeah, but in the 90s, we all used to have a good time, and then he fucked it all
ruined
up.
that. Yeah,
Came along and
it
ruined it.
has changed a lot, but it's even changed from that era changed, and then I would imagine say even from Justin Morris or I was talking to him on the phone on the way here, but then to my GP era, and then from my GP era to now has changed a lot. I'm glad I raced it when I raced it rather than now.
I'm glad I raced it when I raced it.
That's what I mean. So I think it changes a lot, doesn't it? It's don't look that fun. I don't miss it.
We didn't have any fun when you were racing by the sound of things.
No, yeah, true.
He
and
did
it was
in
hard.
America. He just didn't document it.
Yeah, and it was hard then, but I think there was a lot of good times as well. Don't get me wrong; it's not all negative.
No, but you
and
only
that and
remember
that.
the hard times, don't you?
Hard
when
times
it's good,
stand
it's
out
easy.
more.
It's like school, isn't it? You go to school for 15 years, and you only remember about 3 good days.
Yeah, it's no, that was really good. In the lifestyle, traveling around when you actually get together with a couple of you, and you remember the stuff that you've done. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
but
you were
I think
like
now
the
it's
tail end
even
of that.
harder.
Like in the 80s and 90s, everybody used to travel together.
Yeah, I
like
didn't
all
get
the
that side of
riders,
it.
and mechanics, and you were proper a
yeah. See,
it was fun.
that seems really good. It seems like the riders when I was we was quite separate. There wasn't really many that was. There wasn't that many British riders in the pits. The ones that were a little bit older, so I wasn't really hanging about with them. So, and then it was everyone from a different country. It was all quite separate. It wasn't like there wasn't many of us travelling around.
When we were doing it in the 80s and 90s, we were fucking winging it, mine.
Yeah,
fucking hell, it used to. Really? I mean, it's a miracle.
I don't remember.
It's a miracle we got to the races, really.
Yeah, see, that sounds more fun than my.
It was
fun.
Awesome.
It was chaos, man.
It was
chaos.
Yeah,
see, I would have liked to have seen all that.
Yeah. But it was proper winging a parade. It was really winging it. I mean, that's the best way I could describe it.
And now it's all too much. Like the teams are spending 50 grand to get their bikes to, I can't remember what it was, like Indonesia or something. They're like, it's cost us £120,000 to do these two GPs. You're like, that's not what you're doing.
No, exactly.
Surely that's not necessary, but it's too much now. It's all changed, but like I said, it changes, but it doesn't seem like it's changing in some ways for the better, I guess, but in a lot of ways not.
No,
it don't really seem to be getting more fun.
No, in the day, I think the more technology and the more social media comes on, the less you can get away with having fun.
Yeah, there is that.
Because you've got to be judged and you've got to be, you know.
If half the shenanigans...
you'd be in jail, man.
Half the shenanigans we used to get up to,
that's what
made it onto social media.
Yeah, you'd be bollocks. You'd lose your job. You'd have no ride. You'd have nothing because you were fucking about.
So
you got away with murder, really. Way, yeah, I think as great as it is that your fans have this connection with you and everything, it's also a shame because you don't have any fun because everything's recorded.
But then you say that, but
everybody's got an opinion. We all know
there was more fans in motocross back then going to the races to watch when the GP come to England, weren't there, than now.
I think so.
So I think maybe because they see it so much and they can see, have access to anything, they can watch everything, watch the race on TV.
Yeah, don't need to go.
Maybe a little bit easier that they don't feel like they need to go watch it. It's in front of them all the time. So
maybe. What's DeReuver's question? We can't not do DeReuver.
We
cannot not do DeReuver's question.
That popped up on my Instagram as well.
Can't not do
tag me.
Okay, well, you know what the question is. He's already asked you directly.
He said, why does Tommy not like the Dutch tracks?
I didn't even know you didn't.
No, I don't. I actually do not like them. Like, I like them.
Is he saying that because he used to get the better of you? Or not, or
I didn't. He didn't used to get the better of me.
No, I didn't think so.
He would have in the sand, don't get me wrong. He's a lot better sand rider than I am. And he's one of the best sand riders in the world. But also, I was quite good in sand. Like, low-key good in the sand. I won... and one race that he can go back and check when he watches this is... and it always stands out. When he said that, I thought, I've got a good answer for that. Because in Lierop, in 2008... the first motor of the day, I done my best lap time on lap 18 of the race. Was my lap going around Lierop, mine. Lap 35 plus 2 we done then.
Mate, you lost me at lap 3, like 18.
That was bottomless,
yours
wasn't it?
Probably been 40 plus 2, wasn't it?
Yeah,
like it,
40 plus 2, and they reduced 5 minutes off it when I started. It used to be 45 plus 2, but when I was doing GPs, 40 plus 2, yeah.
So when I was GPs, it was 35 plus 2.
Yeah,
so this was last lap of 35 plus 2. Lierop, I done the best lap of the race, and I was trying to pass Tyler last lap. I finished 0.5 seconds behind him. My best lap time was 3 seconds a lap faster than Mark's, who was the following race.
Never.
And he won that race. So lap 18 of race 1 in Lierop, I done the best lap of the race, which was 3 seconds a lap faster than Mark's best lap, which was on his lap 2 of race 1. So Mark, if you want to fucking go back and have a look, you can check that, and then you can see how... I think with the sand, if you ride it, you get good in it. And I didn't go there that often. So I think, especially at the end of my career, when I was with KTM, I did a bit with Stefan because he used to make me go. But yeah, have that, Mark. Check the lap times.
I'm glad, Mark, I'm glad you asked the question.
More questions?
And I'm looking forward to his reply to that.
Mark won't have a reply.
No, he will. He could say every other sand race, he would have been much, much faster. But I mean, I can remember the one because it stands out because of how good he is in the sand, and I was faster, so it's quite an
that's
I have a question to maybe sign off with. Of all the greats that you've raced with for championships, Cairoli, obviously Herlings and all that, what now that you've gone past that, you're now, I said, all moving on, what's your relationship like with them? Like, do you still like stay in touch regularly? I know when obviously Jeffrey came over, was it last year for the British or whatever?
Do you get on better with Jeffrey than Mel?
Yeah. No, I get on well with them all. Everyone I've ever raced. It's different, isn't it, when you get a little
Was
bit
there
older?
any ever need? I know there was that little bit of a while just because you're going for a championship with Herlings.
Herlings, we really didn't like each other.
And then Mel.
Yeah, Mel sort of
Mel wound him up, didn't he?
Mel wound him up. But that year was like, we didn't like each other, me and Jeffrey.
You can't like each other all the time, can you?
No.
You're racing each other. It's not
But I
supposed to
think
okay, so
that was mad, really, when you think about that year. Even he says now that's like the most intense year of racing. I was up, I think, I don't know how old Jeffrey is. I'm probably 4 years old. I think he's 30 this year, and he's 4 or 5 years older. So I was 22.
He's been around forever, man.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He's almost 30 now as well. So it's mad, really, what you think of. He's at the end of his career, but that was intense that year of me and Jeffrey. Like if I got a second, I was in tears on the way home. I remember getting second in Czech, and I got tired in the race, and I was crying on the way home, and went to try and get blood tests. See, I got tired, and I shouldn't get tired, and this and that, and nothing come back. Like,
it's just like,
but I was gutted, and then, but Cairoli, we had one year. Cairoli, we kept getting pulled into the official office because we'd take each other out in 2008 when we was going for the title together, and then he bust his knee in South Africa. But they're some of the nicest people. Everyone's all right, aren't they? Like in our sport, if you actually, unless something's gone on, but people are nice. Like, there's not many people that are the complete arseholes out there. Like, you have run-ins with people, but when you actually understand them, and everything's a little bit different with people, countries, and their person owner, and they might not say it. Like, you see them on a race weekend, what do you really say to someone? Like, busy, all right, mate, track all right? Yeah, good, isn't it? Yeah. How did you fly in here? Yeah, fucking got in yesterday. Like, it's the same conversation you have, and it's not until
the battle's over you can respect each other.
How much else do you have a chat on a race day? Like, they have a different sense of humour. You can't go, all right,
well, most people have a different sense of humour to you.
Yeah, but English sense of humour is different.
Yeah, with foreigners don't get it today.
No, like, and you can't have a joke and then them not get it, and then you sit there, we both sat there and awkward. So you sort of go just like, how are you? Like, have a nice flight in. It's just the same chit chat, isn't it?
So with Jeff then, who you said it was a bit tense there for a while. Who threw out an olive branch? Like, how did the conversation come back where you did?
I can't remember, to be honest. Just years later, it always works itself out. I think even at the end of that, there were some races we, I don't know, at the end of that year, obviously I said, well done when he won the championship. He deserved to win a championship. He was fast, like, and now he's gone on to be one of the best that ever has been. So it was just nice to actually be considered in the mix, to have raced against him. Do you know what I mean? To be one of the ones that actually was to battle against him and win GPs against him. So that's nice. Just same with Ken Roxon and Cairoli. They were, do you know what I mean? It's I've always battled against good riders, but I think in general they're all sound, aren't they? Like, you don't have to. They're all fucking all right.
Doing a Mel talk.
Yeah, they do actually. He gets on well with Mel. He was going to go ride Mel's last year before Foxhill when he came.
Yeah,
bless him.
It's all good.
But Jeffrey's sound.
Yeah,
it's all right. They're all right.
Well, we can park it up there. I'm sure.
Danny's
could
telling
go
me
on for ages.
Danny's telling me one of the cameras is hot,
so much.
unlike me, because I'm fucking freezing.
So,
somebody's left the door open.
Well, I can't. I would have had a top on, but I've got no. I can't get it over my hand.
We've gone past a little bit more than the hour, which means he's going to probably charge. He says he won't, but you're getting.
No, I will. I'll put
something
in. I'll get a bit more money off that bike I've just bought of him.
Yeah, I'd knock a bit off of him for that. You can blame me actually for carrying on waffling on.
No, but I could waffle on for ages. There's so much in my career.
That's the thing.
So
you've literally just briefed over it.
There you go. So let's wait a year or two, see where you're at.
Year or two? Well, I'll get him in the summer, man.
He said he's probably going to get a good few.
Well, I'm going to come back down here for a new bike, I know, for the next race.
Yeah, exactly.
Might be able to just check in.
Maybe you can just do a little check-in before the VMXDN if he's obviously...
The VMXDN Foxhill's held on August Bank Holiday weekend you're talking about.
Oh, that event. I've heard about that.
It's quite good.
I've heard the promoter's a bit of a donut, but...
Yeah, well, Dave is an idiot,
I knew you were going to go there with that. Tommy, thanks for your time. Hope
Always
that heals up
quickly
and more importantly, correctly.
No, it will. I won't rush. Well,
we'll see you in Birmingham for the Arenacross. We're doing a show up there, so...
Are you? Yeah. No, I'm going to all the Arenacrosses still.
Cool.
Well, because you're going to come out and do the T-shirt cannon and all that, probably. Let's get you out.
You'll be in Belfast this weekend, won't you?
I hope so, yeah.
Yeah. No, I'll be there. I like Belfast. That's one. I'm actually gutted because I love Belfast. One of the best races. So I will still be there. So come and watch Belfast because I think if you haven't been to an Arenacross,
no, they're good. They're mega.
It's a brilliant weekend.
There you go. He said it. Tommy, thanks for your time. There goes another podcast. Thanks to Talon. Wobbs,
Yes.
Thanks for the wonderful studio
No, no
and
problem
hospitality.
It has got one of those kids. One of those kids has left the door open.
I'll put some money in the heater for you next
Yeah,
time.
I'll put 50p of the meter. I'm freezing.
He's forgot. Let's see. He's an amateur. He's never done a podcast before. He walked
Well
away.
done.
Well, he's done. Right, we're out of here. Thanks for listening wherever
Thank
you are
you.
watching.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah,
Please.
do that. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks with another Torq Moto podcast. Thanks a lot.